Hello, Robert Chinnery here. Just going over the city's extensive list of banned behaviors of protesters. What I got to say about that is I think that it probably violates the Constitution or the Charter of Rights, whatever, that you can peacefully protest. So even peaceful protesters would be arrested under that bylaw, that they can make a bylaw like that. And if they do ever do that, I'm going to be in contact with the Premier about that and the legality, in regards to the legality of a city doing that. So let's get down to some of these groups. Again, there's the yellow vesters that are the target of this. But what you forget about, they're not even mentioned, is Antifa. Antifa are supposedly anti-fascist, but they're really fascist themselves. If you're ever down there with any kind of a protest or a sign or whatever, they'll show up with their communist flags, and they're fascist themselves. And the definition of a fascist is someone that tries to get rid of anybody else's point of view. And I think there has been some violence from them too. So they're not even dealt with. The city wants to go after the yellow vests. So when you got to look at it in a logical fashion, Antifa is sort of the bully boys, like Nazi brown shirts for the city. So doesn't look like they're going to be regulated there at all. Keeping down the ideas of someone like the yellow vest, doesn't even matter if it's the yellow vest, who don't like Trudeau, who don't like the Canada the way it's being run. And I agree with most of what they say, actually. 100% almost. That I want Canada for Canadians. That is, Canadians being looked after first. Sure, you can let people in. Solve the problems here first. There's people living on the streets in Hamilton. There's people without jobs. There's people without a place to live. And, you're flooding the city with people from other countries. And how did they get in here? I don't know, legally, illegally. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter what their religion is, as far as I'm concerned. Doesn't matter what their race is. I have nothing against that. What I have is probably in agreement with the yellow vests is put Canadians first that are here, solve the problems that are here first, and then let the world in, like Trudeau has. Open border. So I'm not for open borders. Why wouldn't you want to regulate the people that come in, not just in regards to their criminal records, but to verify who they really are and so forth? So the city making this thing that no one can protest anything on their property, I believe violates the law, because not just out front of City Hall, I guess Gage Park too, is city property. Now, any violence that's taking place there goes under just the same legal thing as anywhere else. Downtown, wherever one person attacks the other, it's assault. Okay, so you arrest those people. It should be totally equal across the board, as far as I'm concerned. It has been. As a matter of fact, the Antifa people there have been treated quite leniently by the city. I personally know a person that got 1 year in jail for graffiti, and one of the most severe sentence I could find for wrecking Locke Street and endangering people's lives was 9 months and 2 years probation on top of it. And she didn't even keep to that or whatever. So I think things are pretty fair across the boards with with these LGBT. I don't think the police could really be prejudicial towards them. But I don't want the city shutting down the Yellow Vests, with a huge bunch of regulations, and the Yellow Vests are not hardly causing the same amount of problems that Antifa do. And again, if you go on YouTube, you'll see people assaulted, punched in the face, all sorts of intimidation factors, and it's the same Antifa there as it is here, And to me, they're not anti-fascists; they're fascists. They're brown shirts. So I'm going to keep an eye on this deal. And, in other words, the city's trying to get it so Joe Blow can't go down in front of City Hall with a sign. He's going to be arrested. That's not democracy. That's fascism. So if they've got a thing against fascism, maybe City Hall should look in the mirror and see some fascists there. And why the leniency towards Antifa? Well, I guess because Antifa will go against any kind of a group that's protesting, especially the Yellow Vests. And I have read much material on the Yellow Vests, with a couple of exceptions of people posting things. That's not a racist organization anyway. All these newspapers, the HuffPost and all the rest of them, they're living in fantasy land. Go down there and talk to those people and find out that they want Trudeau out, they don't want a carbon tax, and they want limited immigration. I never heard one person say a racist thing. In fact, a couple of them were natives. So why would someone that was a native be involved with a racist group? You tell me. So, okay, City Hall, with your little tactics and stuff like that. Don't confuse who's who, because Antifa are thugs. Not that I'd ever be afraid of them. Antifa are thugs. They're fascists themselves. They're not anti-fascists. Folks, I invite you to go on to the anti-fascist website. I did this a long time ago. I believe it was when the M103 demonstration was going to be taking place. And there's nothing but threats of violence. That doesn't get wiped out by YouTube or Facebook or whatever it's on, because it's Antifa. Who's Antifa? Apparently George Soros funds them. I don't know where they get their money. I don't know who they are exactly, but they should. If you're going to shut everybody else down, you should shut them down. But I really don't think that the city can deprive you of the right to have a peaceful protest. And we've protested the police. There's never been any violence of any kind, even with more than 100 people there. So take it from there. So what is this all about? This is all about getting people to shut their mouths. And the media, the mainstream media that's been paid off by Trudeau, they want you to shut your mouth. They don't want you to protest. They don't want you to put a sign up there that tells the truth. And it's as simple as that. And if you want to take a couple of incidences of violence, hey, that happens everywhere. I could have an altercation with somebody in a parking lot. Someone could have an altercation with me in a grocery store. Charges will be laid. What's the problem with that? That's already covered. But there's got to be more to it. See, this is the thing. There's got to be more to laying out all these regulations and all of that, but don't worry about it. If that happens, I'm going to talk to a lawyer if I can get one, but I'm definitely going to go down to Queen's Park and talk to a representative of Premier Ford about if this is legal, because it takes place everywhere, from one end of the country to the other. There's always some protest issues. There's protests against M103. There's protests against Trudeau. You name it. So in other words, everybody's got to stay off the streets. Wow. That's sad. That sounds like the Soviet Union. That sounds like Hong Kong now. It sounds like Nazi Germany. So keep in mind who's the fascists here. The real fascists that are writing these laws are your city councilors. This is your city. I think the city personally is completely worthless, but some people might think that it is. So they should get it together with a couple people and go down there and talk to people at City Hall and say, look, this is not legal, it's not proper to eliminate all dissent of all. I'm not talking about overthrowing the government. All dissent, all ideas that are, someone might want to protest the mayor. I don't know. Or a councillor. I don't know. But where the hell we got this group of loser councillors? They're the worst that they've ever gotten. And the wording of all the stuff that they put out is very complicated. It doesn't cover every situation. I don't think they understand it. But they're going to be happy as long as they're bully boys. They're thugs, their brown shirts are there to wreak havoc on anyone that's making some kind of a protest. And it may be even a really good protest. Could be about funding for autism. It could be improved health care funding, any kind of thing like that. So no, they can't even protest. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll be taking this further if that's what it turns out to be, is that everybody's got to shut their mouths, and that's going to be too bad.